A rusty old armored truck sits stuck in a Los Angeles underpass. The two guards inside are bored, joking about the creaky doors and cold coffee, complaining that the truck should have been retired years ago. It's just another shift. And then, in an instant, everything explodes into chaos. Masked men swarm the vehicle from every side. They cut into the doors with power tools, while the guards scramble to follow protocol, screaming into the radio that they're under attack. The robbers drag them out into the street at gunpoint. Cash starts moving, and then something goes horribly wrong. One of the robbers panics and opens fire, gunning down both guards in cold blood. A random man walking nearby sees too much, and he's shot dead too. 3 people are dead on the pavement in seconds. The crew vanishes into the city with the money, leaving behind a bloodbath and no answers. This one brutal morning is the spark that lights everything to come, and the whole story unfolds in 4 chapters, each one revealing a piece of the truth the last one hid. Chapter 1. A Dark Spirit. 5 months later, at the offices of a company called Fortico Security, a man sits quietly through a job interview. Fortico moves enormous amounts of cash across Los Angeles every single day. Millions of dollars in armored trucks, guarding money for casinos, banks, dispensaries, and retail stores. It's dangerous work, and they know it. The manager explains that they recently lost 2 guards and a civilian in a robbery, and the killers were never caught. The quiet man just listens. His name, he says, is Patrick Hill. He's divorced, no family. Nobody in his life. He barely reacts to anything. There's something cold and still about him, like a man made of stone. Then a loud, friendly trainer bursts in and shakes his hand. This is Bullet, a talkative, cheerful guy who immediately decides that Patrick Hill is too much of a mouthful. He looks at the last name, shrugs, and says he'll just call him H. The nickname sticks instantly. Bullet takes H to the shooting range for his training. He explains the rules. H needs to hit 70% to pass. And here's the strange part. H shoots badly. He misses. His aim drifts. Bullet keeps coaching him, telling him to adjust, and in the end H scrapes by with exactly 70%. Just enough to pass, and not a fraction more. Bullet laughs and tells him he won't be joining a race car team anytime soon, but he'll do fine for the job. What Bullet doesn't realize is that he just watched a man deliberately hide what he can really do. H reports for duty, and his new coworkers are a rowdy bunch. There's Boy Sweat Dave, Sticky John, Dana, Stewart, and the rest of the crew, all trading jokes and jabs. But H doesn't fit in. He barely talks. When they try to pull him into their banter, he gives one-word answers and looks away. There's a particular tension with Sticky John, because H took over the route job that used to be his, and now Sticky John is stuck at a desk, quietly resenting the silent new guy who replaced him. Then comes H's first real run. He's paired with Bullet and Dave for a routine cash delivery. Bullet steps out to make the drop and doesn't come back on time. Something's wrong. Suddenly the radio crackles, and a crew of armed robbers has grabbed Bullet, holding a gun to his head, screaming their demands. Dave completely falls apart, frozen with terror. H stays perfectly calm. In a low, steady voice, he tells Dave to do exactly what the robbers say, that if they cooperate, everyone lives. And then H steps out of the truck. What happens next is jaw-dropping. This average new guard pulls his weapon and takes the entire robbery crew apart with cold, surgical precision. He doesn't miss a single shot. One by one, the robbers drop before they even understand what's happening. It's over in seconds. Dave watches from inside the truck, stunned, realizing the quiet man beside him is something far more dangerous than a security guard. But the most chilling detail comes at the end, before finishing the last man. H stops. He wants a name. He needs to know who these robbers work for. This wasn't survival. This was a hunt. The whole depot is shaken. The FBI arrives to investigate, and it's the same agents who worked that deadly first robbery 5 months earlier. They question H, digging for a connection between the 2 crimes. H looks them in the eye and flatly denies knowing anything. As a precaution, Fortico benches him on desk duty, but the CEO, Blake Halls, overrides it within a day and sends H right back into the field. Around the office, the legend of H starts to grow. His co-workers can't stop talking about how one new guy single-handedly wiped out an entire armed crew. Some of them start calling him a hero. Others start getting scared. Behind closed doors, though, something far stranger is unfolding. 2 of the FBI agents run H's face through their system and freeze. They rush the results to their boss, Agent King, and tell him the truth. This man is someone the Bureau has been chasing for 25 years. A ghost, a legend of the criminal underworld, and instead of ordering an arrest, King calmly tells them to leave him alone. Back off. Don't touch him. It's a haunting moment, because it means H is being protected, and the audience has no idea why yet. Soon, a woman named Kirsty delivers a package to H. Inside are Fortico's employee files, photographs of Dana's family, and an autopsy report. He's watching everyone, studying them, He's convinced that someone inside this very company is connected to the robbery that changed his life, and he's quietly building a case, file by file. 3 months pass, and H and Bullet get ambushed again, this time in Chinatown. Another armed crew comes for the truck, but the second they get a clear look at H's face, something impossible happens. They stop dead, and they run. They flee from him, like they've seen a monster clawing its way out of a nightmare. Bullet is left completely baffled, staring after them. Later, he and Dana talk it over in hushed voices, both feeling that these hardened robbers didn't just retreat, they recognized H. Like they'd seen a dark spirit. Dana says it plainly, he's not a cop. He doesn't smell like a cop, but if he's not a cop, then what is he? Then Dana makes her own move. She asks H out on a date, but romance isn't what he's after. Mid-date, H suddenly pulls a gun on her and starts questioning her about a hidden stash of $125,000 he knows she's been sitting on. Terrified, she swears she skimmed it off a liquor store cash pickup, nothing more. To test her, H slides photographs of her parents across the table. The threat is silent and ice cold. Lie to me, and they suffer for it. She's telling the truth. She's not the one he's hunting, but the net is tightening. Chapter 2, Scorched Earth. Now the movie rewinds, and everything you thought you understood shatters. We go back 5 months before H ever set foot in Fortico, to the day of that very first robbery. On that day, the man we know as H is with his son, a young man named Dougie, and the reveal lands like a punch. H isn't just some guard applying for a job. He runs his own robbery crew. That day, his team was planning to hit the same armored truck. H reluctantly agrees to just monitor the truck's route from a parked car, and he leaves Dougie waiting inside while he watches from a distance. But there's a devastating twist. There wasn't one crew after that truck. There were 2, and the second crew struck first, hijacking the truck long before H's team could move in. As they grabbed the cash, they spotted a problem. Dougie, sitting in H's car, parked right beside the ambush. A witness from across the way. H realizes what's about to happen and starts running, sprinting toward his son, screaming his name. He's too late. He watches, helpless, as the robbers execute Dougie in cold blood. Then they turn their guns on H, cut him down, and leave him for dead in the street beside his boy. 3 weeks later, H wakes up in a hospital bed, barely clinging to life, and the pain waiting for him is worse than the bullets. His wife, Jane, blames him completely for Dougie's death. She looks at the man who left their son alone in that car, and she walks out of his life for good. He's lost everything. His son, his marriage, his reason to exist. All that's left inside him is a cold, bottomless hunger for revenge. He arranges a meeting with Agent King, and now the deal between them finally makes sense. King hands him a list of possible suspects, every crew that could have pulled the robbery, and agrees to quietly look the other way while H hunts them down. The law is stepping aside on purpose, letting a monster off its leash. Because here's the full, hidden truth. H isn't Patrick Hill at all. His real name is Mason Hargreaves, a feared and powerful crime lord. And now this dangerous man has just one purpose left: find whoever killed his son and make them pay in full. Hargreaves unleashes his own men, led by his loyal lieutenants Mike, Brendan, and Mage. They tear through King's list one by one, storming houses and terrorizing the underworld, demanding names. In one brutal raid, they corner a crime family, choking a name out of them: the Gashi brothers, dark and vicious people involved in trafficking and truck robberies. His men find $2.5 million stashed in the house, exactly the kind of money that was stolen. But when they study it, Mike shakes his head. It's not them. It's not the right crew. Wrong lead again. Mike grows uneasy. All this bloodshed is drawing serious heat, and it could bring vicious payback down on their heads. He floats a theory. Maybe the robbery was an inside job, someone planted within Fortico itself. Hargreaves seems to agree to cool down and lie low across the ocean in London for a while. But it's a lie. Instead, he builds a fake identity, Patrick Hill, and walks straight into Fortico as a lowly armored guard to hunt for the killer from the inside himself. And now those earlier mysteries snap into focus. That Chinatown ambush, where the robbers fled at the sight of his face. That was Hargreaves' own crew who showed up for a job, until Mike spotted his boss standing there in a guard's uniform and yanked everyone back. Every strange moment suddenly makes perfect sense. Chapter 3, Bad Animals. The movie rewinds again, this time to a completely different group of men, and finally shows us who really pulled that first deadly robbery. Sometime before it all began, a group of former soldiers came home from war feeling used and forgotten. Veterans named Carlos, Sam, Brad, Tom, and a cold, reckless young man named Jan, all led by their old sergeant, a hard and commanding man named Jackson. These were disciplined, trained, dangerous men who felt the world owed them something. So they decided to take it. After his discharge, Carlos had been working security for a wealthy client, so they hit that client first, but the payoff was disappointing. Only a few $100,000. Not enough for the risk, so they aim higher. With inside help from a mystery man, a guard planted inside Fortico, who had once served under Jackson in the military. They planned something huge. They ambushed an armored truck and walked away with $6 million. It was a massive, clean, military-precise score. But here's the terrible collision the entire movie has been building toward. That $6 million truck job was the exact same robbery where Dougie died. Jackson's crew and Hargreaves' crew had both targeted the same truck on the same day at the same moment, and Jackson's team got there first. In the middle of the chaos, Jan made a fatal, needless choice. He opened fire, gunning down the guards. He shot Dougie, and he shot the father who came running to save him, Hargreaves himself. What Jan didn't know, what none of them realized, was that in that split second, Hargreaves looked up and saw his face. He saw the killer clearly. He just didn't have a name yet. Chapter 4. Liver, lungs, spleen, and heart. Now everything races toward the finale. 5 months later, the veterans reunite for the ultimate score, a plan to steal over $150 million straight from the Fortico depot itself during the chaos of Black Friday weekend when the vault is overflowing with cash. It's the biggest job any of them has ever imagined, and they have their inside man ready to go. That's when the floor collapses. Bullet, H's own trainer, the loud, cheerful guy who gave him his nickname, reveals himself as Jackson's inside man. He was the guard who served under Jackson. He was part of the first robbery all along, and now Bullet corners Hargreaves and threatens him, forcing him to cooperate with the heist. He needs H specifically, because H is the key that can get the crew inside the depot's defenses. On the day of the job, Jackson's crew boards H in Bullet's truck. Bullet has already sabotaged the security cameras from the inside, blinding the entire operation. Using H as their way in, the crew storms the Fortico depot and takes the whole place hostage, moving to load up the mountain of cash. But it goes wrong fast. An alarm gets tripped, and in a heartbeat, the depot erupts into a full-blown war zone. Bullets rip through the air in every direction. In the madness, Bullet turns savage. He guns down Dana, and he kills Dave too. 2 innocent co-workers slaughtered in the crossfire. Hargreaves fights back like the killer he truly is, dropping robber after robber where they stand. It's absolute carnage. Outside, the FBI and heavily armed teams close in, discovering a whole network of hidden tunnels beneath the depot that the crew plan to escape through. In the confusion, 3 men break away with the money: Bullet, Jackson, and January. But greed has no loyalty. Jan, the same cold-blooded shooter who murdered Dougie, turns on his own partners. He kills Bullet and Jackson so he can escape alone with every dollar. Now it's just Jan and the cash, slipping away through the chaos, while the whole city hunts the tunnels above him. But Hargreaves planned for exactly this. Hidden deep inside one of the money bags is a phone he secretly planted, a tracker. As Jan flees, certain he's won, certain he's rich and free, that little phone is quietly whispering his exact location to the one man who has waited an eternity for this moment. Hargreaves finds him. He walks up slowly, and Jan asks if he's there for the money. Hargreaves says no. He doesn't want the money. He wants Jan to read something. He holds out a single piece of paper, Dougie's autopsy report, and reads it aloud. The clinical words describing every wound: the bullets that entered the lungs, the one that tore the liver, the one that ruptured the spleen, the shots that lacerated the heart. When Jan screams to know what he wants, Hargreaves answers with cold, final justice. He wants Jan's liver, his lungs, his spleen, his heart. And then, quietly, he tells Jan one last thing: the name of the boy he murdered. His name was Dougie. Then he shoots Jan in the very same places Jan shot his son, wound for wound. It's not a killing. It's a father closing a wound that never healed. And then, in the moment that reveals what this was truly about, Hargreaves walks away from all of it. Over $150 million, sitting right there. And he leaves every bill behind. The money was never the point. It was never about the money. He turns to Agent King and simply asks if they're done. King says yes. They're done. His son is avenged. His task is finished. And with nothing left to feel and nothing left to chase, Hargreaves gets into a car and is driven away into the dark. A hollow, broken man who got exactly what he came for and lost everything he ever had to get it. And that's the whole story. A cold, relentless tale of a grieving father who tore an entire criminal world to pieces just to look his son's killer in the eye one final time. 4 chapters, 4 points of view, all crashing together into one devastating collision of fate. If you enjoyed this breakdown, do me a quick favor. Smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss the next movie recap. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.